Diane Cibula from the Utah Transit Authority. I work in planning, and one of the tasks that's not really new to UTA but has been happening in kind of an ad hoc way among various departments is working on a sustainability plan. GJ is most importantly in charge of a facilities plan, and that ties into this other stuff. Some basics about UTA. We were established in 1970 legislatively. We're quasi-governmental, and so we started with 90 buses, 3 million service miles. Today, we operate 35 million service miles. You can see the list of all the different types of service we provide.
That's our new fleet. They just arrived last week.
Oops. Does it do it?
Yeah,
There we go.
There we go.
All right, so our service area encompasses 1,400 square miles along the Wasatch Front. We go from above Ogden.
Pleasant View to
Yeah.
Santaquin, to
We
Willett to
serve
Park
over-
City.
What's that?
To Willett to Park City.
And yeah, we just started service to Park City. We serve over 2 million residents in 6 counties, 75 cities. We work with a lot of people in the course of doing this, and we also produce lots of emissions. We're transit, so that's a great thing. It's not the same as single occupant vehicles, but we still produce, and this is kind of a conversion, so this chart is kind of challenging to look at and understand. But essentially what it's saying is, we've got various types of fuels we use. We use electricity, both in our facilities and with our light rail vehicles. And this is all converted into to metric tons of CO2. So that number at the very bottom, 88,000, what is it, 907? Does anybody know what that's equivalent to?
No, really, does anybody know?
I really don't
we
know.
don't.
Anyway, it's a lot.
It's a lot, yeah. And there's a copy of that. Don't worry about trying to keep track of that, but that information will be useful for the exercise, and there's actually a copy of that table at your, on your tables there.
So I mentioned that we've been doing things in kind of an ad hoc fashion. This is a list generally of the programs we've been working on. And so kind of at the top of this, measuring and setting goals for carbon footprint reduction. This has been done as part of an overall carbon, what's it called? The national database.
Oh, registry.
Yes,
Yeah, the
thank you.
registry, exactly. That table that you just saw, that's our data input to the registry.
Exactly. So we've had that going on. We are about to do our first renewable energy pilot program, which is solar PV. There's actually 2 going on, one on some canopies on the airport line and another on one of our light rail facilities. Bus replacement program, and again, we're looking at all different technologies, alternative fuels, and just cleaner vehicles. 4 new rail lines, and that includes commuter rail. Actually, no, it doesn't.
4 new light rail.
4 new light rail.
And 1 extension of commuter rail
One
down to
extension of
Provo.
commuter rail. We've also been legislatively authorized to do transit-oriented development, and so that looks at location efficiency, getting people near where they can work and play and learn and live, all within approximate locations served by transit and by pedestrian facilities. We have a new anti-idling policy, and again, you can kind of look down through this list, but generally these are the things that we have going on. A bit about active transportation. That's really just, we think we can boost our ridership by about 7%. We get more efficient the more people that are on our vehicles. If they're empty, they're net polluters. So the bike ped element is really important because all of our customers are pedestrians at some point before they get on a transit vehicle. And then our employee wellness plan, which is more about the people part, and we've been doing some innovative things with that. So this generally shows kind of why this is important to us, but I'll tell you chiefly as a taxpayer-funded agency, the most important reason is because it can help us do things more efficiently and for lower cost. Air quality is a big deal, again, for economic development, bringing businesses to the area. Our air quality is a real issue for big businesses that are thinking about locating here in areas that are served by transit. So these are kind of the basic numbers. And I think one of the things that may not be well understood by most folks is that we have tons of property. We have property that we bought just in terms of right-of-way that we thought we were going to use for projects, and then sometimes it turns out we don't need to use it. We have it and we land bank it for various reasons. And so we've got 2,000 acres of property, 87 million square feet of building space. So we have lots of buildings, we have to maintain our vehicles, we also have administrative employees, et cetera. 2,100 total employees, and you can see the breakdown here of operations and administrative. And as I'm sure you're aware, people are a big part of the equation with sustainability because their behavior can be more efficient or less efficient. Okay, so let's see what we've got. Okay, I'm going to jump right into the exercise quickly and easily. The low-hanging fruit, the stuff that will have a chance of early success so that we can say, hey, this can work. It doesn't have to cost a lot of money. You know, it can either be cheap or free up front. Maybe it's just changes in employee behavior. And that helps us get to what we're going to do in the second session, which is to think about more expensive and longer-term things that have the biggest bang for their buck. And we think that sort of quick success will help us get in that direction, help us make the case for spending more money, more investment, time, thought, and energy. So anyway, these are the two sessions that we'd like you to do.
We're three. We only have two here. Three? Oh, you're three? Okay.
Yeah.
Can you do it with three? There's five at this table. If someone wants a better voice, you might want to join one of these tables. It's three. It'll help them a lot.
Might be interesting, yeah, to sit at a table with somebody you don't know.
Oh, should I?
Yeah.
All right.
It's up to you guys. We don't push you out of your comfort zone.
I have a question on this. So
Sure.
Are all these numbers right here, are these just the metric tons of CO2 produced per what, like per year, annually?
Correct.
Yes.
Correct. That's an annual number. I'm sorry.
So for the bus route, for a bus route of electricity, you guys are consuming 563 metric tons?
Correct. And what that's done is it's converted all of the power that we're using to sustain the bus route. So if we have lights at shelters, if we have any kind of power consumption, it's all being converted into CO2s, just so we can put it in one table that you can talk about. So,
I'm actually doing a big undergraduate research project.
oh, okay, we can talk.
I calculate CO2.
Oh, super.
So that number is meaningful to you. Do you know what it compares to? What kind of scale is that?
Do you have a scribe here yet?
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, you guys will win the gold star then. All right, so what we're going to do is we're thinking 2 15-minute sessions. Were we going to do the presentations right after each session? Or wait until the end and do all 6 ideas?
I don't know if we had decided. Let's wait till the end. That's my vote.
To do all 6? Okay. So we'll do 2 15-minute sessions, but can you go back to the, I think the next one has, the next one has what we're expecting. So this is what we're expecting out of it. 3 ideas, 3 simple, quick, low-cost ideas, and then in 15 minutes we'll get you started on the next round of ideas for long-term, maybe some capital-intensive ideas. So let's spend now until, let's say about 5 after, in your tables, pick a scribe that ultimately will present all 6 of these, and then just write your ideas on the large Post-its there. If you need a marker, come get one, or just raise your hand. We have them.
And are there any big questions about UTA that I can answer that might be helpful to all the groups? Yeah. Obviously, that's something to address, right? I've always wondered why they, This is straightforward picture.
Yeah, okay, yeah, I was thinking, so just low time costing, so like, I've got a lot of ideas, but I don't know if they're really practical. I mean, for that, or not. So you guys are just more going for artificially going green, or is it more for
If it doesn't pencil well from a financial perspective or agency improvement.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
And I mean, it depends on how long it takes to pay for it. You know, it's not as long as you think, but what we're looking for in this first exercise is quick pictures we can implement. They don't require massive investment. All of our employees are going to take transit to work now, you know, or whatever, for all their meetings. A lot of them don't.
I don't know if this is really right. What about more things on the buses for people to take take their bikes, you know what I mean? Maybe some of your employees can actually use their bicycles in there. Like when they're waiting for the bus to.
I wanna know, are the tracks electric, are they
Is that something that you guys would be willing to do, like putting more bike racks on, or is that something that you're, that's just like
so they're not really, because they already have like the whole.
We've been adding more bike lockers, and the equation for us is passenger capacity versus bike sharing capacity. So there's some technical issues there, but again, it's been a really hard decision about do we use the cargo still at the station with bike lockers, or do we try and get them to bring with them so that at the end of their trip, that last mile is good. Yeah.
That's a good short.
So it's on our radar screen, but we don't know at this point. We haven't done kind of a market study.
One thing to consider is
What's going to be done.
in the presentation.
how about in terms of fuel, where do you guys at on that? I mean, this would have to be a whole kind of.
Session 2.
That's a session 2 item for sure, and we'll talk more about that, because that's an issue that's important.
What about
Solar cells on.
Shut off.
Well, solar cells, man, that's good.
Yeah, that's.
well, I was thinking, I don't know if this is possible, about solar panel, starting to get it into some solar panels, you don't have to have it run on the website. Reduce your energy cost by like 30% just by
Framing it like,
getting solar panels installed. And I know that we had probably some breaks to all the energy reduction that we have from the government. They could probably want to as well. I don't understand. Well, yeah.
Right down, right? Right down.
Well, we did get a subsidized grant for the airport line, a couple of our canopies to do the lighting and the, passenger information, that kind of stuff, to supply energy for those activities. And then we're working on our distribution structure. We have a 5-acre rooftop on our. Yeah, and so we're bringing in, these 77 new vehicles that we need to maintain in that facility. It's a huge new building, it's a retrofitted roof, and so it's a good place to do it. That's a past project for us to do some data gathering and say, okay, what's the consistency on this and the power grid, how much can it supply, and how does the power grid work? Does it work for us? Because, we're kind of putting a lot on private vendor. So that's one thing we're doing, just to learn from it and say, is this something we want to do more of? But for us, even that's a bigger thing, and especially because a lot of these government incentives are sunsetting. And so we're trying to take advantage of that quickly before it's gone.
So I'm thinking, more in terms of building than just communications and I don't know how much water, but you guys use a lot of water at all?
Probably, because we gotta wash all those vehicles.
Oh, yeah.
It's a lot.
That is a lot of water. So maybe more efficient, what do you guys wash? Do you have like a car wash thing? Or do you use
Kind of, yeah, they have these big facilities that they just bring the vehicles through, and it's kind of like a car wash, but then they've got these hoses and stuff, and it's different.
Okay, yeah. And then, heating, there we go. Energy. Yeah, like, you're already kind of working on that, so is solar wouldn't really be an idea, that's already something you guys are kind of coming up with, or should I write that down?
I think that would be more of a long-term thing, that would be a big.
That's
Mark, it seems like, I can think of things you can do in the building side, but most of your square footage isn't going to be people space. It's going to be car space or vehicle space. So, what about your anti-idling program? I mean, how far into that are you? Do you need our thoughts on that? Because that seems like you could have a huge impact based on what we've heard from Rio Tinto.
Yeah.
I mean, they've been extremely successful with their program.
Well, and as far as I know, the only extent we've gone to, and I don't know the details on all of our programs.
Yeah, we're
We made a list of them just to give you a general sense of what Cassie's doing, but to the best of my knowledge, that's just during end of work, which is when the drivers sit for 10, 15 minutes, that's kind of their break, and they're just in the vehicle with the running. They were leaving them running in the past, and now they're not allowed to do that, but they're still idle, for instance, at stoplights. And I don't know what the efficiency is, like on a car, you know, if you're gonna have the car off for like 10 seconds, or if you're gonna idle for more than 10 seconds, you might as well turn it off. So that's the question is, you know, can we do more with Oh, really? Well, yeah, then incentives,
Yeah. I don't know if it was UPS or FedEx or something like that, did something with driver incentives around idling, and they actually somehow were able to audit it and know who was idling more and really approach those people directly. So it was either UPS or FedEx.
Oh, okay.
And Rio Tinto, they put software on every one of their vehicles, and so it's the stick, not the carrot methodology, where
Right.
it's like if you idle past the threshold, a text message goes to the manager. There's no waiting. There's automatic communication, and a phone call occurs that says, "Why are you idling?" Because there might be a reason. So just tell me. Oh, you don't have a reason. Well, get on the stick.
Yeah.
And you know, the carrots are great, but certain things you can't incentivize enough. They just need to be done because they're rudimentary. You know.
So I don't know if this would work for ETA at all, but UPS has gotten a lot of reputation for their no left turns. So they set up their routes so it's all right turns, so there's less time kind of waiting in an intersection to make the turn, and they've actually been able to show that they've saved a lot of fuel.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I don't know.
We should have that on there because I know our operations planners look to avoid left turns, but it's for different reasons because it tends to reduce trip time for our customers.
Yeah.
Same issue.
So
Trip time and idle time are the same thing.
Yeah, so it's something about like no left turns or.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So they don't have to prioritize because they only have to, is that what you're saying?
Oh, again, yeah.
Are you doing fine?
A lot of this goes like.
You ready to move on? Excellent or not?
Because I mean, this is kind of with idling, right? No left turn.
No, I think it's different.
Yeah.
This is a choice versus a programming decision.
Yeah.
So we're trying to like.
Okay, right road driver? No left turn.
No left turn.
Yeah.
No left turn route planning.
Yes.
Well,
So another question that I have, and I don't know if this is going to be
say, if they
something
get
that
way
we
more-
put on this low-hanging fruit list, but the biggest issue for us is that our So, what can we do to increase our ridership based on the kinds of land packages we have here? What are the things that would support, you know, customers wanting to come get on our vehicles instead of going to cars? So that's the biggest opportunity.
Yeah.
That's also kind of a bad thing though too. I mean, like, so I take the bus. I have like 20 years now. I don't own a car. I like to not have to take so many different buses to get to the police. And so, I mean,
You have a lot of transfers.
yeah, transfers and stuff like that. And so, I mean, that's another reason I said putting more bike racks is a good idea, because I think that would increase ridership a lot, because that's kind of the issue. I've heard people talk a lot about when they're on their bikes, and they don't take the bus because it'll take longer for the bus to get there than they bike.
Yeah, in fact, I like to work. I almost never ride transit because it's so much faster.
Yeah, so I think that should be a lot, like that at least, about, you know, increasing, well, that does increase costs, I guess.
Well, I honestly think it's a great idea. Not crowds.
Our geographic dispersion is a major obstacle.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about how they fix these problems in bigger cities. Portland, you know, they've got there's zip cars, there's shared bike programs.
Not yet.
But those things exist, but it's hard to imagine them working on our geographic. That's the issue, is the culture creates the sprawl. And then it encourages behavior that isn't congruent with urban life, right? So.
And I don't know what the traffic pattern is like typically, but the last few times that I've come, I've been amazed at how quickly I can get from the airport to Cottonwood Heights. You know, so it's like, and I feel like I'm going slow when I'm doing 65.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm doing, and so it seems like the way that the freeway system is built, it encourages people to get in their cars and just zip, like, clear across town, whereas I'd say in Portland, lots of people do drive, but it's painful. It's painful to get on the freeway during rush hour.
Right.
Because it's so congested. So.
Okay, if you haven't moved to your next list,
So we need to increase congestion.
session 2, try to get there soon. And we also need, this is tough, right? You have to come up with, if you have way more than 3, the idea is to get close to your 3 top ideas in the session 1 category and 3 in the second.
Yeah, has frequent service signs like no during rush hour.
Right, that's actually, that's another thing too. Yeah, I guess that would be the best one. I was thinking, because there's a lot of things that you have to play with, because people want to get where they want to get to, but then also they don't want to have to walk too far to take too many transfers, so I think her idea is a better one though, because if you have more, if it's more frequent, then you can pick, maybe I'll take this one, maybe I'll take this one, or maybe this one gets here sooner, so it'd be less time, you know what I mean? So maybe that's a better idea, to just think like more stops, because I don't know, I think it's, I don't know if that's decrease your, amount of users anyway, because you're already, as I understand it, going around anyway, right? Otherwise you just be sitting,
I know.
you know, we're not using gas, I guess, but still, I mean, that should.
Well, we do have operators who.
You get it. You get
Number
it.
of operators work on a split shift, and so they work, 4 hours in the morning, and then they're off in the middle of the day when we tend to have less people riding, and then they're back on. A lot of them do that, and that's a big contribution because they want, I don't. Yeah, I mean, that's part of
Okay,
it.
if you've gotten to 3 or close to 3, we want to give you a full 15 minutes on the next level, the long-term
Although I don't
ambitions.
know, it sounds like it's a tough thing to.
It is, I mean, service
like you
frequency.
So where would you put service frequency?
If you want to be conscious of
I would put it down as
waste, you can flip your sheet over. If you want a clean sheet, we're happy to give you a clean one too.
I can't read that far.
While you guys
To do
think
that
about your
does require a
long-term,
lot of money.
I did give an analogy
We've
on
only
the
recovered from our fare box. about
88,000
16%
tons
the
of
actual cost to provide the
carbon
service.
dioxide.
So would you say
Apparently
that,
that's not very much
I think the bike
in terms of production. Kennecott produces somewhere in the low millions.
Okay, so
I think it's definitely something, we've been talking about the best way to do it, and we're not really sure what that is, but I would go ahead and add that to the list. I hear a lot.
adding bikes.
no, man, we gotta
Like
come back
I
to
said.
All right.
Another short-term goal is to offset more energy from the sky. That's
Self-managing. All right. They're doing fine.
Yes and no. So we have customer service, and this is probably a fundamental part of the issue where the information is not transferring. We have customer service, who can call with suggestions, complaints, whatever it is. And so that's one department. Then we have our kind of PR and PI people, and they're in a separate group. And they, sometimes they'll do, Dan Jones stuff and, those sorts of things. And what we have heard, the frequency is more important than the reach. So in other words, we don't need to keep going further out into the burbs. What we really need to do is start providing more frequent services.
That's what I see, that's what I see. Which one might work?
Yeah, I mean, that is a hard question, and, with our rail lines, I mean, that's another question, people tend to think of rail as bus, but you have some limitations on it. For instance, the line that we open that goes out to Daybreak, we had to cut through to run the emissions of that line. And so now we're able to travel further to the rail line than they did to get to the rest.
I like these guys.
No, it's a bit more direct. Less more direct route. There's a you have
late launch for those fast buses. Taking fast, so it takes fast, it doesn't have to be.
I did not read that at all.
Long range plans for the launch of bus rapid transit.
Yeah. Obviously, it was great. I'm gonna talk.
Signal priority, and so it allows us to.
I gave it back to the last session. I thought 5 was
And those kinds of things help the bus service be much more reliable. Because we hit about 97% reliability versus an average bus.
Sure. Free runner days.
Here's one that maybe is a little different. I was thinking because I was bus every day. 612, you know, are you familiar with Square
I'm not.
Oh, okay. I'm in capital development planning, so I'm not in service planning. Oh, okay. Well, DJ fine.
We have 45 miles.
612 is basically going down Washington, which is Penn Street there, I guess you would say. Down at the there's some buses that go directly to the transit center, and then there's some buses that don't go there at all. They just go up and down to Washington and other places. And so for people that are like me that are doing like longer transfers that are trying to places, one of those all these things that have to walk. They don't actually go. It would be much easier if they just went to the transit center, because then I would have to take so many buses, congest up all your other buses just to get to the transit center. In the winter, I mean, usually if it's in summer, I'll just walk straight there. But in the case that it's winter, people aren't going to do that. They're going to want to be on the bus. Absolutely. I don't know if you have I mean, I know that it would.
Why? If you have a 45-mile stretch of,
having people go.
45-mile stretch across, you already have to land.
No, I mean,
If it helps our customers, at least in theory, it should be good for us.
And I would go ahead and make a note. So what that's referred to as, and there is also a debate going on about that, that's a hub and spoke system. A hub and spoke system. In other places, in downtown Salt Lake, in many cases, it makes more sense.
You want to work this stuff, 5 more minutes, are they all done?
So it's very context sensitive, but I think you're right, probably in this kind of area, we need to think about the context of the model, that where people are going. Because yeah, otherwise, they're just like, are you either going to Washington or are you either going to here? Otherwise, you have to.
You got your top 3 short, top 3 long?
Yeah, I think you need to establish some minimum standards for your capital purchases, whether they're buildings, like you need to adopt some kind of minimum expectation. LEED Gold would be my recommendation. You should do nothing less than LEED Gold facilities. Then for your facilities, or for your vehicles, I assume when we evaluate passenger vehicles at our office for lease for office transportation, we look at a number of green rating systems for vehicles. I assume there are green rating systems that would cover fleet type vehicles too. I would set reasonably challenging thresholds in the long-term realm for buying only vehicles that are very low polluting. And what's great about that is it means by setting a performance standard rather than saying we can only buy natural gas. Well, 5 years from now there might be better technology. So you set some kind of threshold with a third-party organization that's constantly raising the bar. You get your organization to adopt that third-party standard that is reasonable, a marked improvement above average performance, but not, the Prius of cars, but maybe the Volt, I don't know what it is. And then you can just grow with them and advertise that.
So is that like adopt challenging third-party standards?
That's perfect
Yes.
for buildings and fleet.
And that's a really good, it's a good point that you're raising in terms of fuel technology in particular. We're looking at CNG, because we get electrifying. We're looking at a whole bunch of different options. And the problem is right now, we don't know where things are going.
Wow, I think that's big.
Yeah, so that's the problem is that tends to create permanent paralysis because there'll never be a simple answer. So you got to find a third-party organization that can give you a simple, like a rating system like we have for LEED, and it says there is no perfect answer, but there's an answer, and you can start today, and it keeps you from being in permanent paralysis. And so I'll look up the system that you use. I have your email already, and I'll see if I can find some kind of transit corollary. I'll send you what I find, even if I can only send you the passenger vehicle item.
Yeah, and passenger, we have
Good point. You could start there.
So I think going back to, sorry, It's been helping us as far as reaching these goals and reducing carbon footprint is also sort of setting a dollar value for how much you're going to spend each year. So even though this is sort of the big scheme of things, where
That's where we got the idea for this.
there might be some possibility around the okay, we know we want to make this so this year we should have $100,000 in, and we're going to do the opposite, which is a little bit higher, is or 2,000 this year, and then you never know what sort of dollars. So to help them along, it's easy of the cost set, especially for used to spending money, not knowing what certain things cost. Set dollar value for the next 5 years, you can always change that range. Because this will invest it, invest. So at least you have that sort of aside, and then it's maybe that $100,000 doing all your lighting one year. And the next year is $150,000. Simple things so you can continue to not knowing your actual in-house buildings that even if they're considered low. That's helped us. I would say set a budget for the next 5 years.
A budget
A monetary
to invest.
to invest in sustainability.
Or decision to always invest savings. Whatever savings,
Oh, that's a good
all,
one.
where you're not for profit, it's a problem in my organization because what we generate as savings, people want to take home, right? And so whatever you save, you develop a policy where it must be reinvested, then it balloons.
Yeah.
And if you do that, that's in the budget. Part of the program too is if I do this lighting measurement, what I did before, and then what I do afterwards. So also set a way to measure otherwise you're really not gonna know.
Start presentation, yeah. So we were ready, all of them ready.
Yes.
So it doesn't just take half the year away.
I would be
Yes.
more specific to environmental.
Hey, you shared on ideas, man.
Because that's where there's a short term.
We have
Five?
Let's whittle it down. Which are the 3 long-term we should be focusing on?
I think the standard, I think the budget.
All right, you can get your final 3 large, long-range, capital-intensive goals. We're gonna give you probably another minute
One, four,
to do that, and then we'll start with whoever, these guys, I think we're ready. We'll have them stand up and give us their 6 ideas. And we'll just move around the room as quickly as we can, okay?
You talk about.
I'm always amazed that
Compare yourself to others.
That's good, because I don't know how to do it, like in my head.
Park City Resort. Again, I
Isn't it funny how if you put human beings in a situation and give them a constructed task, they'll almost always do it,
Yeah.
How excited?
unless they're 14.
Okay,
I don't know my 14-year-old would do it.
you got 3?
Okay,
All right,
so
you
should I
guys
just put a
work
tab
on
on
these
one
3?
start our session, I was thinking about, there's
I know.
All right, if you wouldn't mind, can you stand up, introduce yourself? And then start with your low-hanging fruit, simple, quick ideas, and then everybody can, I don't know, maybe check your list and see if you might have the same ones. Maybe you want to change your priority and pick a different one that you didn't, could be included in your top 3.
All I gotta say is our list looks definitely a lot more unorganized. Maybe that's right.
That's because I was writing it. That's why.
Okay, well, I'm Derek. I'm a student here at Weber State. I'm at this conference because I'm in the environmental club, and I'm interested in renewable energies. Short term, quick, simple, low cost. Yeah. We have 3 red air days for the public, something that's reducing major emissions. Short term, you could just quickly transfer to Blue Sky. Blue Sky is a big, well-known renewable energy source. so using less methane, less gases. In addition to that, a new idea that we actually came across at one of the sessions today would be like incentives for employees to reduce their emissions in commuting to work and back from work, like kind of making contests with employee reduce their emissions up largest in a month, so get certain kind of benefits, win kind of prizes. Those are short-term things, but you could also do like public, kind of like who uses public transportation the most in public and doing things. Anyways, so long-term effects, we're thinking that since how the railroad system, the train is 45-mile stretch between like Salt Lake and Ogden. They already have the land on each side of the railroad. I don't know, I can't really tell you how much, but they own land, say up to 6 feet on each side of the tracks. You can plant crops. One in particular would be like a biofuel, would be a Camilla, which is a huge biofuel plant. You can basically plant it and crop it, turning gases, how gas is used. Or say you want to plant solar panels, that's a 45-mile strip of solar panel you can just put up there, produce your own energy, sell it back to the company, sell it back to the public. Along with that, we have basically UTA is a private organization. They're making profit. So you can take part of the profit you purchase emission reduction rights. I'm not too sure what that is.
Carbon credits.
Yeah, like carbon, kind of going to carbon credits, kind of
Kind of halting Kennecott's, like production, so they don't pollute our air,
Yeah, something like that. And then the last one that my good friend over here, we just kind of come up with is, obviously the railroad's running day and night. The railroad, from all the weight and all the energy and all the heat being transferred and all this on the railroad itself, the 45-mile stretch, you'll be able to harvest that energy you're already spending moving that train, harvest that energy into more renewable energy, so like turning it back into your own system. That's the long ones.
Good job. Well, I helped with a little bit, so you guys kind of spokesperson. That was job number one, was quickly doing the ball.
All right, use your 30-second sound bites. Round one, short term, make sure that there are employee-centered or employee-engaged green team sustainability teams that are involved in auditing, assessing, recommendation from the ground up. Also, do some training, basic training for employees on what sustainability is, what the impacts are of what their individual actions and the company as a whole actions are on the community, on the planet, on themselves. So they have knowledge. Knowledge is power. They can then do something. And then also publish the goals of the corporation. Make sure that the company has some sustainability goals. They're well defined, they're well published, so everyone from top down knows what it is. So those are the short term. Does that sound right? Long term, find the way to have alternative fuel vehicles in the fleet, something that is more sustainable, less harmful outputs. Tied with that is make sure there is a goal or plan for technology adaptation and innovation. Not necessarily waiting, but being on the leading edge of adopting technology, adapting, innovating what they do. Be the leader, don't be the follower, that sort of thing. And then we also talked about an important thing is really upgrading the marketing or the image, both to the public and via the public to legislators, to city councils, whatever, so that mass transit is desirable, is planned for from the state to the community level. Funding, hopefully, can be increased. The support for this will grow. So ratchet up the marketing.
Take credit for how your contribution to the community and state sustainability is a crucial part of all of our sustainability plans, transportation.
That's right. Thank you. Sam, your table's up.
Mark Stevenson. So let's see. The first one would be, basically, it's kind of a mix of measures, but basically it comes down to expanding rideshare opportunities. That would include things like promoting ride-sharing opportunities online, sort of like, I mean, there's a lot of European companies that do this ride-sharing thing, you know, within metro areas and between cities, and they're moving into the U.S. market. So UTA has a great opportunity because you can leverage your presence now. You don't have to be involved. You're just the conduit through which you promote people to find each other in their neighborhoods and say, let's get together, meet at a certain spot, commute to downtown Salt Lake. So that sort of thing, but also something like train taxiing, where you essentially, it's sort of like carpooling hubs where you, and I guess they're the flex routes you have now, but if you had smaller, you know, sort of those transit vans like the airport shuttle or even the Econoline things, that again, by arrangement, if you had certain routes where you would move through neighborhoods and dump people at the front runner tracks and at the other end, so that they have a way to get from work and home to the main commuter lines. So that's one thing. An energy audit, and I presume you guys maybe have done that already, we don't know. But just in terms of your buildings, energy audits, and a lot of savings there.
First priority on the new facilities master plan.
There you go. And then the other short-term thing was just a broad gamut of behavioral changes internally in terms of, you know, monitoring employees. And again, it comes down to both administrative staff and operations staff in terms of, you know, idling, in terms of, you know, workstation usage, that kind of thing, and whatever programs you need to get the buy-in, so incentives and that, you know, the whole gamut of competitions and prizes and whatnot. Long-term stuff we have, converting and rotating your entire fleet to alternative fuels, CNG or whatever else is going, and I presume you have a regular rotation cycle anyway. So that's sort of an ongoing thing. This one, I don't know to what extent you have any influence over this, but transit-oriented development. To the extent that UTA is a voice in that public policy discussion about, you know, in terms of retail, in terms of housing developments, and, you know, helping to coordinate those efforts so that it is more.
We own 10 to 15 acres at each station location for asphalt surface parking.
Exactly.
Is that the best use of that land? That's what we absolutely we're looking at that.
Perfect. And then the last one is really just education, long-term, until people get it, the value proposition behind public transit. They're not going to buy into it. They're going to prefer their cars. You know, schools, but also that includes educating legislators in the form of lobbying, tying it to public health concerns. You know, there's just not enough being said about the effects of particulate pollution on respiratory health these days. You know, Brian Munch and the Utah physicians. I mean, you get those guys involved, and I know that would probably antagonize some political players, but honestly, when people realize the health costs of not paying attention to this stuff, that's one key education issue. So that's it.
Thank you.
Great.
My name's Kaylee Bradley, and I work for ATK Composite Center in Clearfield. Our first session, one thing is to, and by the way, I've heard a lot of the ideas that are going to intermingle. That is great. Might give you an idea of where the real problems are. But website is not user-friendly. Some people don't even have computers, you know, but even for the older generation that might lend themselves to use it more often, don't even have access to a computer, so, or know how to turn it on. So, second one is better marketing ideas. Right now, Utah, it's not cool to ride the bus. So I think if there was like, we upped that awareness because of all the things that it does for us, emissions and air quality, so that it wasn't such an uncool thing, that's not the word, but nostalgic reason is not a good reason not to ride the
Our
bus.
fleet doesn't look like that slide I put up anymore.
No good.
That's what some people's recollection of transit is.
Yeah, no, it is, and it's and we're so backwards from like San Francisco. And where are you from?
Utah.
Oh, Utah. Have you been? Sorry. The other one is, our third one is distant base fares
and/or a rewards program. Is, you know, Burger King has you buy 10 burgers, you get one free, and everybody does. Maybe that could be incorporated into, you know, if we can't discount fares or we want to encourage ridership, encourage them to ride it.
A ride lotto.
A ride lotto rewards program after somebody rides? Okay. Okay, so then our session 2, long-term sustainability, redirect service from residential to urban event centers. I think right now, during the week, you'd want to pick up those riderships that are going to work, that ride weekly. But then the weekend, those same routes could be redirected and utilize trips to Salt Lake for public events, for games. So maybe a better utilization of the routes and/or a smaller vehicle for the different riderships. Okay, might improve. Number 2, coordinate shuttle buses to bring riders from large business events to TRAX locations. I do believe that currently is really a problem, is people that want to ride TRAX, the buses don't join up with the same drop-off points and pickup points as the TRAX does. If maybe a smaller shuttle was incorporated on that to help that connection, you might get a better ridership. And then number 2, I'm ATK, I work with composites. Have ATK build a UTA bus, which are far lighter and more durable, requiring less fuel to operate. And it goes with their conversation.
That's not far-fetched.
Oh, no.
I know.
Oh, my God.
It's not far-fetched. We built aircrafts. So, and it goes with what they said over there, though, be more innovative. There are a lot lighter composites, more durable, less maintenance, you know, with composite. I mean, it's an idea.
Thank you.
It's
Great idea.
Heidi's the boss.
Heidi,
You ran the show, Heidi.
that's right, you really did.
Okay. All right. My name's Heidi. Come to Weaver State, part of the club, environmental club. Session 1, number 1. Here we go. The simple, quick, low cost, cost-effective sustainability ideas is lighting efficiency. We're thinking that's a low cost, easy, kind of obvious almost. LEED certification, maybe kind of pushing that way. I mean, like she was saying, there's not even insulation in one of the buildings, so that's, you guys got a lot of work to do there, I guess.
That would be our offices.
Our offices. Oh, wow. You guys are probably uncomfortable with that one. Water efficiency, she was talking about that you guys have to take them all through like a big machine anyway. I wasn't going to wear that. Yeah, the buses, of course. Second one would be drivers incentives or policy change, enforcement to encourage reducing idling. So, I mean, yeah, you could tell them to reduce idling, but maybe give an incentive to do that, or enforcement, some kind of way to enforce that, or put it in your policy that that's, you know, what's to be done.
I want to add something. The folks at Rio Tinto Kennecott have been talking a lot about what they've achieved, and I mentioned to one of their speakers that they needed to start to provide that information on their and including the technology. They've had software built that if they just shared that with other organizations, and they've got no reason not to share it. So anyway, some context there.
So what does the technology do? You told us, but what is the?
Oh, it'll if you go past whatever the threshold is on your idling, the software on board the computer, doesn't matter whether we're talking about mining equipment or regular fleet vehicles, passenger fleet vehicles, text goes to the supervisor.
If it's on for like 5 minutes or something.
Just as soon as you hit past the threshold. So there's no wanting people to conform. This is the stick, not the carrot approach.
So like nobody has that with all their fleet vehicles.
Yep, so there's another one.
No left turn route planning. Did you want to kind of?
I can speak a little bit to that. So UPS has gotten a lot of traction on designing their routes so that they don't they either eliminated or really minimized the number of left turns that they take, and they've been able to show real cost savings in terms of a lot greater fuel efficiency and just kind of reduced fuel use in general. Sounds weird?
No, it doesn't.
And whenever
I've
I
heard-
see, yeah,
I've heard the story.
yeah, so.
It's great.
When we're going to session 2, our long-term ambitious innovative goals, we got 5, I guess.
So, but we're gonna talk about
But
3.
we're just, oh yeah, huh, which ones do we?
1, 4, and 5.
1, 4, and 5. Okay, so the first one we're going to talk about is frequent service. I ride the bus a lot, so I can kind of add to that it definitely helps. You're always trying to decide which one you're going to go for, faster or closer to walk to. So if there's more frequent service, that gives the actual rider more of an option as to what your plan is going to be to get to where they're going. And definitely an initiative to ride the bus versus like walk or ride your bike.
Or drive.
Or drive if you have a car. Sorry, I don't have a car, so I kind of eliminated that one. 3 is or 4. Adopt challenged third-party standard for bus and building. You're going to have to elaborate on that for sure.
So we know what LEED has done for the building industry in terms of creating a metric that you could use to grade your buildings by. Inside the LEED standard, there are alternative transportation credits that reference passenger vehicle third-party standards. For if you provide fleet vehicles at your facility, you can purchase vehicles that have low emissions. It's an emissions standard. If UTA could adopt, my recommendation would LEED Gold for your facilities. LEED Gold is doable. It doesn't cost much, if anything, if it's done right. And you'll save a ton on the back end on operations. And for vehicles, if you could attach yourself to a third-party standard that's continually improving but reasonable, like that has a silver, a gold level of performance, then I think you could externalize that responsibility and not have to invent the wheel yourselves.
Good one here. Last one, actually. Budget and always invest savings into energy efficiency or sustainability.
What was the first part of that? Budget?
It's having a budget. Actually having money to do something.
Yeah, right. So I mean, all the savings that you get from sustainability efforts, things like that, put it back into it so that you're always building off of kind of like your kind of capital, I guess. You know what I mean? So that was one of them. I did want to kind of add to the frequent service frequent service, because like I said, I know people that will actually ride their bike versus taking the bus because it'll get them there faster. And so that's definitely something that would increase your ridership. And I understand, like she was saying, it would be a long-term goal, frequent service, because a lot of the drivers are in unions and they want that extra time, you know what I mean, to kind of recuperate, which is understandable. So that's a long-term goal and trying to find out how to do that. So.
Excellent.
Great. Yes.
I just had a thought or a question. Did anybody take the bus here today?
You did.
Anybody take it from Salt Lake?
With the train.
Yeah. Good. I thought about it, but I thought it'd be too much of a hassle.
Well, it takes a little bit of effort. I had to call Julianne. She drove because she came up to some sessions this morning, but now we'll carpool home. So it's not always transit. I mean, if there's more than one person in the car, I consider that a success too.
Yeah.
I kind of have a question in regards to that. Me personally, what I've witnessed is, I'm not saying Ogden's a dirty city in any way or kind, but I've been on the bus a few times, and I'm not saying there's crackheads or people in our city. There's been some shady characters trying to talk to me. I'm like, what? Who are versus I want to say this group in this room are, I want to say, categorized as a different type of, we're all shirts and ties kind of people versus the people who actually generally ride the bus. Now,
and I would love to say that's just a perception problem, but I think it does go beyond that, and I think that
I mean, I've noticed, like on the train, you have more suit type.
yeah.
Buses, let alone, and like say the track systems, it's like.
It goes to the perception. It goes to the 1970s perception of it was for derelicts and,
That's a common perception right here.
Yeah.
Everyone here wearing shirt and ties, but only younger, 4 to 25.
Well, I'll use it to get across town in Salt Lake City, and I see the people that you're talking about, but I also ride with students and commute, businessmen that work at the church office building and stuff. I don't know, I think it's a cultural change, but it's a great idea, it's something to think about.
So I want to, that's what I'm saying, I want to get these people that
You
don't
can't
ride.
refer to them as, yeah.
I categorize them.
You
The
got
shirt
it.
and ties.
You got
I want
it.
the shirt and ties on the bus.
And I think that's key. I think it takes the kind of initial people that say, I want to do this, and I recognize this is sort of part of the urban experience, right? That you're going to have this cross-section. And the more people who do that, the more variety of people, not just the people that are like homeless and trying to stay warm. Not required.
Oh, you got a comment?
We had, we work at ATK Clearfield, Freeport Center. We have a lot of people that work in Salt Lake. And when tracks first started, we had a lot of riders. They had problems getting from the tracks just over to Freeport Center, which is a big industrial facility, okay? They couldn't get that timing down, and so they were waiting 20 minutes, 30 minutes for the bus to come back around.
We call that the last mile problem, and that's, you're right. If you don't work right at the station, that's a big issue.
Yeah, and there would be a lot more soups, I know from ATK, because they like lower emissions, you know, we have a lot of granola girls, people that just like saving emissions, more health oriented, and they just, it didn't meet their time schedule when they're having to wait 20, 30 minutes for that last mile.
Number one complaint of customers is frequency and connections.
I think I gotta leave, actually,
Sure.
sorry, but I
Well, I
wanted
think
to add,
everybody wants to go.
well, no, I gotta ride, but I was gonna ask, I just wanted to leave with you guys, like, as being a rider, I guess, kind of aspect part of this, that adding more bike racks is really, I think that's a really important idea. I mean, Ogden's a biking city, I see it everywhere, like, they're really into biking here, and I mean, like I said, the part of this problem of frequent service is that they can bike it faster. So if they have some more people can actually use the bike, and there's not more of like, oh, what am I going to do with this big bulky bike, and there's nowhere to put it, then obviously they're not going to use the bus, so they're just going to bike. So just saying. Anyway.
Thank you very much for all of that. Okay. You want
Do you have another slide to put up?
oh yeah, just contact information on that sheet that was in front of you. Has the same information. There's a QR code there if any of you wanted to scan that. It'll take you to our social networking site.
Right here.
I have just a few business cards. You're welcome to take, or you can just grab the sign-in sheet if you really want to get in touch with us. But thank you. Thank you so much. I'd like to give everybody a round of applause for all of your help. We'll stick around for a few minutes. I know you got to go to work. Julianne and I will be here for a few minutes to talk.
Thanks for Good job.
Great. I do. Good. I mean, like you as UTA as an organization. I mean, actually, I know you do. I know that. So I'm very involved in that stuff. And,
Oh, yeah?
I mean, I think it's huge. Obviously, I work for Twin I have a free pass. I live downtown, and I don't ride it. Right, but you're riding your bike. But I'm riding my bike. Yeah. So, but I think that that's a good thing to sort of address. Is that like all kind of together. Absolutely. Yeah.
6:45.
Hi there. Thank you.
And idling this bus.
Good to see you too.
Me off for like a year.
Okay, but we don't have the technology. Whoever was mentioning that.
Yeah. I think that's kind of everywhere, and I just think that the more people you have, the less of a problem it is. It's when it's you and then three homeless people on the bus that you get sort of.
Right, although we've had some issues with, like, recently where people.
No, that's